Hi, Antonio. Well, this week's question to you is, what have been the most exciting area or house in US for you to investigate? And can you share any of your experiences from that place with us? Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, for asking me that question and allowing me the time to answer it. Before I jump in and start talking about places that I've been to, investigations I've conducted or been a part of, I would like to explain what it means to be a paranormal investigator and why I choose to be involved in this field. Being a paranormal investigator, to me, is not about fame or fortune. To me, being a paranormal investigator is about traveling the road less traveled. This road is the road of truth. This road, when you begin to travel on it, begins simply enough. You begin by going to alleged haunted locations, all in the hopes of catching a glimpse of paranormal activity. However, the further you go into this journey, you begin to have more experiences, witness different types of activities, which eventually leads you to questioning everything that you have been taught about reality. Then, as you begin your questioning of reality, you are ultimately faced with questions about your very own spirituality. This is one of the tough spots on this journey, as many people are afraid of confronting all their religious dogmas that they hold to be true, and you must question them. If you decide to proceed, you begin to study all religions and philosophical thought processes. Another point on this journey that you will arrive on is yourself. Ultimately, you must face yourself and question yourself. Here, you will begin to analyze yourself, strengths, weakness, your character, good and bad. If you continue to proceed with this, you will begin to understand how to improve yourself and make yourself a better person and a better investigator. Each investigation, experience, or client interaction will teach you something about yourself and give you a piece of the puzzle on your journey in this road. One must remember that this road is different for everyone. No two roads are the same. This road is custom made for each and every one of us. Your road will be based on what you seek from this journey. Now that you know how I feel about being a paranormal investigator, and you see it's not just a hobby or something that I do on my time off. So you see that it's rather quite difficult to pick one location as my most exciting location or my favorite location. Quite frankly, every investigation or location, I have walked away with something, whether it be more questions or answers or actually finding evidence. So whatever it may be, I've walked away with something. And so every investigation is always an exciting one. One of my most memorable paranormal experiences was when I first arrived into the United States back in 1979. My family and I had moved onto a 26-acre farm with a house that was built in the Civil War. The house had belonged to Mrs. Rose Beyer, whose mother was Swedish and her father was Norwegian. And they had moved into the old Civil War house around the 1900s. I awoke one night, in the middle of the night, and had to go to the restroom. As I proceeded to walk to the kitchen, I looked up and saw the apparition of a young blonde-haired woman, and I immediately got frightened as I seen that she was holding a knife. Not knowing if she was going to hurt me, I took off and jumped back into bed. I would end up living in that location for approximately 4 years or so. That wasn't the only phenomenon that I experienced. Throughout the time that I lived there, I would be out in the fields and the forests playing, and I would hear voices and whispering and such. I never saw any other apparitions while I lived there, but the voices were constant, and I did hear footsteps at night going through the house and such. It got to the point that it really didn't frighten me much anymore because it was occurring so much. But that was really my first experiences with the paranormal, and probably helped guide me to be on the path that I am now. So to me, that's why it's so memorable. And to be honest, I couldn't even tell you if it was my overactive imagination as a kid or was it legit. But it did help pave the road to what I'm doing now. If we fast forward to around 2008, in this point in my life, I was deep and heavy into photography. I had discovered the wonderful monuments and statues in cemeteries, so it became a passion of mine to go shoot them and see what I could do. One of my favorite cemeteries to go to was Spring Grove Cemetery. One, it was fairly close to me, and two, it was a very large cemetery with tons and tons of beautiful monuments and statues throughout the different time periods. They even had statues all the way back to the 1700s. I simply loved this cemetery. Now, the cemetery wasn't only just beautiful and very large. At the time, I hadn't realized it, but it is one of the most haunted cemeteries in this area. But I was more into the photography, and at this point in my life, I didn't really care about paranormal or any of that. Just didn't really think about it much. However, it was here that I had my second memorable experience. I was taking a picture of a very beautiful angel statue, and I was so focused and intent on the statue that I kinda went into my own zone, I guess you would say. And it was while I was aiming the camera, taking the pictures, that I heard a noise behind me. And when I turned around and looked, I felt this rush of, well, basically it felt like a spirit entered me or went right through me. And it was even almost to where it just made me stop and drop everything, and I let out a loud gasp like so. At that point, I had no clue what just happened, and to be honest, I kinda started getting nervous and freaking out, so I stopped and wrapped everything up and turned around and flew out of the cemetery. This is the statue that I was taking a photo when this occurred. I had spent a lot of time after that trying to process what had happened, but I really couldn't come up with anything other than a spirit had entered my body or went right through me. So this was very memorable for me, and it really kind of woke me up and made me start thinking. Let's fast forward to 2016. I was already on a paranormal investigation team, and we had been traveling around trying to assist clients with issues they had. I was already enrolled in college working on my master's in parapsychology, and I was undergoing other types of training at the time. So when this particular client called, we rushed out there, and it was a small mobile home which was way overcrowded and on quite a bit of land. It's memorable to me because it was my first actual case of legit poltergeist activity, and no, not the noisy ghost type, but in clinical terms, poltergeist, where PKI and that, the location was so chaotic, and the amount of negative energy that was in the house was just through the roof. I investigated this particular location 3 separate times, and each time it yielded massive amounts of evidence. Unfortunately, the clients weren't very willing to change anything or try to fix the problems, so eventually the mobile home burnt down to the ground. The fire department never could figure it out exactly why it burnt down, but anyway, I'm gonna attach a few EVPs from this location. Like I said, I would put more, but I'm trying to keep it just keep it private for the client. Alright.
First, my husband and I was crazy about the faucets turning on and off. And then it happened to my husband when he was in the bathroom. Now this is really strange.
What I got? Can you get a pictures of your arms while I'm out here in the sunlight so I can see it real good?
You might want to get that way.
Yeah.
It hurts so bad.
I see it. Do you want to talk?
My next case and final for this video comes from the same year, in 2016. We had received a call from concerned neighbors concerning this cemetery, which was named Souls Chapel. A lot of the clients and neighbors were reporting bad vibes, noises late at night, and such like that. So we decided to drive down, poke around, and see what we could come up with. I gotta admit, while I was walking around the place did give a certain vibe. Well, not like an evil vibe, but it definitely felt as such like there was negative energy there. and it wasn't a very welcoming location. So at this time, I was walking around taking pictures and such, and then I captured a pretty interesting photo. In the photo, I couldn't tell exactly what had happened. It was early in the morning, so it wasn't sun reflection on my camera. I tried to take several other photos and I couldn't capture it again. So I decided to go to the area where the light was seen to see if perhaps there was metal or something that could have caused a flare like that. So I began walking around in the woods in that general location when I made another interesting discovery. While walking around in the woods, I discovered there was just bones, human bones, scattered everywhere, all throughout the woods. I don't know if an animal dug up the grave or what exactly had happened, but all the bones were strewed out everywhere. Overall, it was a good investigation. Reason it's memorable for me was that it really solidified the idea that when you disturb the graves of the dead, they do return. So I do not know if the light was really a spirit there, but the abandoned cemetery did give off a really creepy vibe. So, well, Jane, I hope that answers your question somewhat. There's a lot of places that I've been to, and doesn't mean that any of those places aren't active or super exciting. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it's about a journey, so I decided to list a few memorable investigations and definitely some good paranormal experiences that I had. So, alright, well, thank you for giving me the time to talk about this, and if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the comments or you can message us and I'll do my best to answer them. Alrighty, thank you.